A very good afternoon to everyone. I hope I'm audible to all.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Ma'am,
afternoon.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Afternoon, ma'am.
Is my slide visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, in the clinical examination, like I was thinking of doing the color coding. Okay. So we have the in this semester you have the color coding for the anterior segment of your eye, that is your disease, because the posterior part also we have done it, right? The fundus, like examination of the fundus and the color for the fundus and all that we have done it in the retina part, right? So today we will be discussing about the color coding of the anterior segment. Okay, so that means how we are going to draw the cornea, and then how what are the color that we are going to use for the for like drawing different abnormalities of the cornea. Okay, and at the same time we are going to study about the pharmacological color coding. So as soon as we finish this slide, so maybe in the next class we can start with the pharmacological coding for the uh, your drugs. Okay, so let's start with the color coding of the anterior segment. So okay, see, so since we know that how we are going to examine the anterior side part of the eye, right? Where we do the slit lamp examination. So as soon as we did the slit lamp examination, the most important part now is to have a documentation. Okay, so this color coding of the anterior segment will help you to how the corneal diagram that need to be done, and what are the basic color code that we are going to use, so that that will make you easy to understand, and also to the doctors about your findings. Okay, so first let's move toward the history, like a simple scheme for the documentation of the corneal disease. This was actually a study that was done by the Braun AJ, and he in this study he also described the systemic methods of drawing the corneal pathology. Okay, so that if like if you have
Ma'am, voice is not clear.
it's not clear. Now it's clear.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to be a bit louder. Okay, so basically in this study that has been done by Bronze AJ, he tells about the how the diagram of the cornea that we need to draw, and what are the colors that we need to keep in the mind. Okay, and also what is the systemic way that we are going to draw for the your corneal pathology. Okay, so let's move forward. So basically, what is the importance of this color coding? Okay, so first we have is a documentation. So like I said, clear documentation is required for whatever that we are going to see under the slit lamp examination. It could be related with the clinical causes of the disease, or maybe because of the medical legal aspect. Okay, so we need to have a clear documentation of it. Okay, so the next we have is a easy follow-up. So since we know that the corneal disease, they have a prolonged periods of time. Okay, so that means the disease can include from the like initial stage, and then getting worsening, and then it's healing, and then after improvement. So like the process, it's very long, right? So in order to have a like a clear condition, to see the condition, and to see the improvement and the progression of the disease, so we need to have a uh, uh, this documentation of this corneal diagram. Okay, so this will help in the follow-up. And then next we have is a compatible. So when comparing to the others, so when we draw the cornea, and then when we draw the cornea, and then we colored it, so this will become more compatible. That means the others will also understand its more easiest way. Okay, so that's why it's a it will help in a compatible way also. And the last we have is increase the observation power of the slit lamp scale. Okay, so basically what happened when we like for example, you guys are doing the internship for the like internship. Okay, so when you guys are posted in the hospital for the first time, so when we will tell you that you have to draw the diagrams. Okay, so some of you might be get very excited that we have to draw the diagram, and at the same time, so that's why you're like you will be more careful when you look at the slit lamp. Okay, so that you can draw exactly the same that you are going to through the slit lamp, right? So that's why this will also improve the observation power of the skill for the students also. I mean for the examiner. So basically, when we talk about the examination and the documentation of the cornea, so we have to keep in mind that we have to do. draw a two diagrams. Okay, so the like basically the diagram should be in the two forms. So first is a frontal and second is a slate. Okay, so only the frontal view of the corneal diagram is not sufficient, since the cornea itself being a three-dimensional, right? So that's why we have to include the slit portion also, because the slit will help you to tell you about the not only the lesion but also the depth of the lesion. Okay, so next, okay, so when we draw this slits, so basically the interior part of this line, this denoted your anterior surface of the cornea. Okay, that is your corneal epithelium, and the inner side of this line, this represent your endothelium. Okay, so based on the location of the any abnormalities, you can just draw it there. Okay, so this will give you the depth of the lesion as well. Okay, so let's move toward the slit view. So basically, like I said, the slit view, what happened? The front line, it indicate your epithelium. Okay, and the back line, this indicate your endothelium. And also the slits is the important of the slits is they will help you to tell you about the level of the lesion. Like I said, what is the depth of the lesion, and then the area of the thinning, which area has been undergo thinning, like whether it is central, periphery. Okay, and this will also tell you about the AC depth and the AC lesion and what is the status of the lens. Okay, so now let's move to the different color that we are going to use for it. Okay, so before we start directly move forward, so let's see about the requisite for the drawing. Okay, so basically we need a five different colors, so that is a black, blue, brown, red and green. And we can also use the eraser in order to modify the diagram if required, and also some stencil. You can use it as a circular object. Okay, you can use the stencil as well. Okay, so the first color that we are going to use is the black color. Okay, so under the black color, the first thing that we are going to see is obviously the corneal outline. So whatever the outline of the corneal we have to draw it with the black color. Okay, and also the limbal area that we are going to mention, we can draw this with the black color. Okay, so others includes scars or any kind of opacity or the degeneration, or if there is any foreign body that is embedded on the corneal surface, so we have to draw it with a black color. And also if the person is wearing any kind of contact lens, so that contact lens, when it's placed over the surface of the eye, so at the ending of the contact lens, the end surface of the contact lens, that is on the your cornea, that we have to draw it with the black color. Okay, and also in the case of your band keratopathy, we have to draw use a black color. And then next we have is a Vox stripe. Okay, so let's move to this slide. Okay, so like in this slide, okay, so we can see this is a corneal scarring, and then we can see the corneal dystrophy, the bandage contact lens, the dotted line, it's indicating the ending of the contact lens. Okay, so this is how we are going to draw it. So the next one we have is okay, so when we talk about the eyelashes, so if we can see in the figure that the eyelashes that are going inside, right? So this is a sign of entropion. And so for the entropion also we need to draw it with the black color. Okay, this is how we are going to draw it when we do when we write it on the paper, I mean when we draw it in the paper. Okay, so next we have is a tissue adhesion. Okay, so okay, so this is your okay, so if there is any adhesion, it means like there is any like connection. Okay, so this is actually at the periphery you can see there is an adhesion between the your iris and the cornea. Okay, so this can be a sign of your synechia also. Okay, so in this case what happened, we need to draw it with a black color. Okay, so okay, so like I said, if there is any foreign body embedded, if there is any foreign body embedded on the surface of the cornea, we have to draw it with the black color, right? And also we have the another diagram, that is a slit diagram. This is actually telling you about the depth of the foreign body. Okay, so that one we need to draw it with the black color. Okay, so next we have is a suture. So any kind of suture, um, like if in a case of your after surgery, if there is any suture that is present on the cornea, if you have seen any such suture, then you have to draw it like this way. Okay, and then we have is a corneal laceration. So basically when we talk about the corneal laceration, it means there is some cut in the cornea. This can be partial or fully cut off the cornea. Okay, that is mainly occur because of the like any injury that is occur in the cornea. So because of that we will see a corneal laceration this way, and then we have to draw it in the black color. Okay, so okay, next we have is a corneal scar. So like if you have seen any scar, so we have to draw it with a black color. Okay, so moving forward to the next we have is a keratoconus. Okay, so keratoconus, as you all know that in keratoconus what happened, the anterior portion of the lens it's protrude outside. Okay, and because of it it's become very thin. So see in the frontal diagram we can see the black color. This is your keratoconus. Okay, and in this slit diagram you can see the keratoconus, the position of the keratoconus. Okay, so this is slightly down. Okay, so this is the position of the cones where it is protrusion is actually taking place. Okay, this is a bit downside. That means the at the downside the cornea, the thickness of the cornea will be very less. Okay, because of this protrusion. Okay, so next we have is a contact lens. So like I said, if the so you can see this is the ending of the contact lens, right? So before the eye we have to draw it with a dotted black color. Okay, so okay, so next we have is a corneal degeneration. Like if there is any changes that can be occur with the corneal tissue according to the age, so we can see a corneal degeneration over the ending of the cornea. Okay, about at the limbal area. So for that we can draw it in a circular way with a black color. Okay, so next we have is the corneal nerve. Okay, so basically this corneal nerve, this actually look like a opacity. Okay, so this will be a the patient will complain of a like a sensation of pain on touch, and this can further leads to your blindness. Okay, so this is your this the whitish area, this portion is your corneal nerve. Okay, so that one you need to draw it with a black color. Okay, so next we have is the eyelid laceration. So basically the eyelid laceration is actually the like tissue of when the tissue of the eyelids it gets tear off or it's get cut. Okay, it may be because of some kind of injury. So in that case you can draw the diagram like this. So at the center we can see there is a like a blood, we can see a blood, right? So that portion you will do with the red color, but the border of that laceration now, that cut, that you have to draw it with a black color only. Okay, so we have done with this till now. So now I have a question. Like in the this slide I have mentioned a term that is called the Vox try. So can anyone tell me what is Vox try? See, this small terms now like corneal scar, corneal opacity, degeneration, sutures. So this like band keratopathy. So this like term I'm not going to explain it to you. Okay, so because you have already studied it in your previous semester. So but this like definition and all now for the like if you want to have a diagnosis of this now, so you need to have a knowledge about the what is this. Okay, what is this, what are the causes, so that I can include in your exams as well. Okay, I can ask you in a 1 mark, so what is a Vox try? Okay, so now tell me what is Vox try, any one of you? How it's appeared on the cornea, so what okay, what is the cause of it?
मतलब बॉक्स स्टाई
In
एक मतलब कोने में लाइन
question,
रहता है लाइन वर्टिकल लाइन
Yes, yes,
what
Saddam, it's
what is lens that's found in and what is lens that's found in this
सादा
cement membrane?
sorry Saddam, could you please repeat it? What is?
That means what is lines which are found in this cement membrane is the no one.
Saddam, I couldn't hear you. Can someone please repeat the Saddam's question to me?
मैम बॉक्स स्टाई इज अ वर्टिकल white line ma'am which is found in descent membrane.
Okay, okay, very good. Yes, it's correct only. So basically, your Vox try it's a vertically oriented line. Okay, this is seen in the your posterior stroma. Okay, this is actually seen in the posterior stroma. That means the anterior part of your descent membrane. Okay, so see this. Okay, so what happened when you sleep overnight? Okay, so like in the morning when you wake up, so you can see there is a swelling in the eyes, right? So that swelling it's about 3 to 4%. Okay, and that one is a normal. that the cause is obviously hypoxia because you have slept whole night and you have closed the eyes, right? So because of which there is a swelling in the eye, we call it the hypoxia. Okay. But when this hypoxia, when we wear the contact lens, especially the soft contact lens, uh, 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 that not the silicone hydrogel, that the normal hydrogel lens. Okay, so in that case, what happened? Because of the hypoxia, the swelling, if it exceeded 5%, okay, normally this is 3 to 4%, right? But if the swelling exceeded 5%, that means this can leads to a corneal edema. Okay, and this corneal edema can be classified as various uh, classes depending upon the percentage of the swelling. Okay, like if the swelling is 5%, that means it's a chances of developing a box dry. Okay, so basically it's the causes of the box dry is your hypoxia. Is that clear? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Saddam, can you please repeat your questions now?
Ma'am.
Yes, Saddam, if
Ma'am,
possible.
the
Yes.
Sandeep whatever told, I have don't strike. That one I have told that. It occurs actually in keratoconus patient, no ma'am.
Yes, Saddam, you keratoconus patient.
That means box stria, it occurs in keratoconus patient, no ma'am.
Yes, the box dry can be seen in the keratoconus patient as well. Okay, so see, I'll tell you the reason. In the keratoconus patient, what happened? Okay, like I said, uh, see, if the keratoconus patient, what happened? The eyes, it gets protrudes. Okay, so because of which, in keratoconus patient, you will see a patient will complain of your dryness. If it is a dryness, that means eye is having a hypoxia, right? So in the hypoxia, it can lead to a box dry. Okay, and second related question, it's like the reason it could be because in the case of like keratoconus, what happened? Because of the protrusion, your surface of the cornea, like thickness of the cornea, na, it's become very thin at the center. Okay, and that could also add the reason for causing this box dry. Okay, see, we have the Heb's dry as well and the box dry. So you have to know the difference between the Heb and the box dry. Okay, so Heb is basically your horizontal line, and then walk is usually a vertical line. Okay. So the black color is done. Okay, so the next color, yes. So the next color that we are going to talk about is a blue color. Okay, so basically this blue color is used to document the following condition. So this is related to the water. Okay, so the following condition includes edema, that is a swelling, or any small circle for the epithelial edema. And next we have is a DM fold, that is your descemet membrane. So DM folds actually they are a wavy lines that we will see in the descemet membrane. Okay, that's descemet area. And next we have is the epithelial edema, and then stromal edema, epithelial bullae, and then acute hydrops. Okay, so this acute hydrops is also seen in your keratoconus patient. Okay, so let's see with the diagram. So the first we have is the okay. So like I said, if you see any kind of wavy line, and that is in the descemet membrane, so that will be your descemet fold. Okay, so that fold you need to draw it with a blue color. Okay, so next we have is the diffuse stromal edema. If you see any kind of edema in the stromal area, so we need to draw it with the blue shades. Okay, and then if we see any kind of small circle, so that will be your epithelial edema. Okay. So, okay, so this is your descemet membrane fold. Okay, so this is how the descemet membranes will look like. So see, you have to be very specific with the position. Okay, so see, all of this folds like your Vox tri, Hebs tri, and this DM fold. So this will almost look same. Okay, so there is like they have some few like their specialty, like whether they are vertical, horizontal, but the main things that you have to keep in mind is their location. Okay, so this is very important to denote with the their location as well. So like I said, in the case of Desmet fold, they are actually a dark and the deep crisscross line. Okay, so they will not be horizontal or vertical, they will be a crisscross, and they are actually seen in your posterior stroma and the Desmet membrane. Okay, so and between that position, so for the diagram you have to use this. Okay, and also you have to denote it with the blue color. Okay, so the next color that we have is the corneal, sorry, yellow color. Okay, so under the yellow color, we can denote it with for the infiltrates, and then hypopion, then fresh KP. What is the full form of KP?
Keratoconus precipitates.
Okay, very good, Sadam. It's a keratic precipitates. Okay, and then we have is a cataract, and then pingula, then contact lens deposit, and then infiltrates, then concretion, and tendus spots. Okay, so let's discuss it one by one. So first things we have is the pingula. Okay, so like you all know that it will occur at the bulbar part of your conjunctiva. Okay, this is how it's going to look like. So basically the pingula, it's growth, it's like development that's usually occur in the bulbar conjunctiva, which is toward the nasal side, right? So mostly toward the nasal side. Okay, and if you okay, so for the drawing purpose we need to denote it with a yellow color. Okay, just remember, so this is how under the slit lamp is going to look like, and this is how you are going to draw in your copy. Okay, so next we have is a KP. Okay, so uh, like Saddam said, it's a keratic precipitate. So basically, keratic precipitates, it's an inflammation of the cellular deposit. Okay, so they are usually seen in the corneal endothelium. So endothelium means the innermost part of the like your cornea. Okay, so that's why in the slit diagram we have drawn it at the inside part. Okay, so now see, we here I have mentioned the fresh KP. Okay, so that means you have to see whether they are fresh or old. Okay, so basically the keratic precipitates, what happen if they are very fresh now, so they will appear as a white color, like like in the figure they will be white and round in structure. Okay, so this if you have seen this kind of KP na precipitates, this you can also seen in the uveitis patient. Okay, so if you have seen this, then you have to draw it this way. But if it is old, okay, so if it's old, then it will be like the color will be appeared as a faded, and this will not be round, this will be like irregular. Okay, irregular in shape. So that one we will discuss it later, but for now just remember, if it is fresh, you need to denote it with a yellow color. Okay, so next we have is the contact lens deposit. Okay, so if you have seen any kind of deposit over the contact lens, that can anyone tell me what is the reason for the contact lens deposit? Yes, any one of you?
Displacement of contact lens due to displacement of contact.
Displacement, okay, that might be that could cause displacement, in the sense ill fitting, right? Poor fitting of the
Mm,
contact lens. Okay, so okay, so basically, and any other reason, that is the most important reason for contact lens deposit.
Same question.
Okay, I'll repeat it, Dheeraj. I'm asking you, what is the main cause for the contact lens deposit? What is the cause for the this deposit when we wear the contact lens? So the Saddam have said because of the ill fitting, like the lens has not been fit well, so because of it might be a deposit. But this is half correct, but most appropriate answer is, can anyone give me?
Ma'am, on hygiene, ma'am.
Yes, good. It's a unhygiene. Okay. So see, because of the poor patient compliance. Okay. So if the patient compliance is not good, then it could be lead to a lens deposit. And one more point, it's the solution toxicity. Okay. For example, the person is not using the solution that has been prescribed by the practitioner, or for the soft contact lens, he is using the RGP lens solution. That means it can leads to a lens deposit. Okay, and also like because of ill fitting, what happened? In ill fitting, if this lens it's rough over the surface of the cornea or over the eyelids, this can leads to a itching irritation. Okay, and that can lead to a papillae, and because of the papillae there can be a deposit. Okay, so this is how the extra. This is not directly linked, but indirectly somehow it's linked to the your deposit. Okay. So if you remove the like contact lens and you see uh, any kind of deposit over the surface of the contact lens, then you have to draw it like this. Okay. So in the cornea this will be normal, but it's in the lens you will see some kind of deposit. Okay. But when the patient is wearing that contact lens, you will see that there are kind of some floaters over the anterior surface of the cornea. Okay. So so next we have is the epithelial defect. Okay. So basically epithelial defect can be occur because of the cell loss. Okay. If there is any injury or if the epithelial cell has been lost, so this will show you like this. Okay. So when we do the fluorescence test, like when you give a fluorescence strand, so the strand will be positive. Okay. So this is how we are going to draw it with the green color. Okay. So basically just remember, if we are using any kind of fluorescent strip na, so we are going to use a green color for the indication. Okay. So the next we have is a hypopyon. Okay. So what is the definition of hypopyon? Yes, it's a okay.
Yes.
Yes, Saddam.
Um, uh, movable of pus. That means pus. Pus.
Yes, very good. So basically it's a collection of the pus in the what is the position it is your anterior chamber. Okay. So this is the like collection of the pus in the anterior chamber. If you have seen any kind of this pus like whitish in color na, so you have to draw it with the draw in by this way with a yellow color. Okay. So next we have is a papillae with a concretion. Okay. So basically in the papillae, what happens? So papillae we draw it with a red color. Okay. So papillae, they are actually a rise like inflammation area, or with they have a blood vessels, and the surface they appear to be red in color. Okay. But the concretion, this concretion will appear as a white like this. Okay. White spot. So so this concretion you need to draw it with a yellow color. Okay. Not the papillae, because for the papillae we use the red color. So next we have is a lens cataract. Okay. If there is any opacity in the lens, na, if there is any type of cataract, whether it's a nuclear cataract or posterior subcapsular cataract or mature cataract or the peripheral posterior subcapsular cataract, or if there is any early changes, na. So see, have you guys heard about the early changes? Yes. Have you heard about the early changes? Yes, tell me, any one of you. Early changes. Have you heard it or not? Yes or no?
No,
Heart.
ma'am.
And
Okay, so let me Saddam, have you heard of this early changes?
I have heard, but I did not get that all things.
Okay, okay, that's fine. So basically, see, when you do the when you guys will be going for the internship, so this is a one of the most common word that you will be that you are going to hear in the case of your lens. Okay, so see, in case of lens, what happened if any kind of changes it's taking place, like the before the development of the cataract. Okay, so the lens will undergoing some changes. Okay, so that we call it the early changes. That is the initial phase of the cataract formation. Okay, so for that we need to denote it with the early changes. So if there is any kind of such changes or any type of cataract that you have found, so you have to draw it with a yellow color. Okay. So the next color that we are going to discuss, it's a brown color. Okay. So the brown color, it's basically used to document the pigmentation, that is iron or melanin pigment. And then with the border with the drawing or the border of the pupil and the iris also we use the brown color. And then peripheral synechia, sorry, peripheral anterior synechia, and the nevus, flasher rings, iris nodules, and your old SPK. Okay. What is the full form of SPK? It's a
Superficial punctate keratitis.
okay, very good. It's a superficial punctate keratitis. Okay. So let's move toward each disease one by one. Okay, so first we have is a bulbar nevus. Okay, so this is how the nevus will be looking like. Okay, so this nevus, it's basically because of the hyperpigmentation of your melanin pigment. Okay, so this is the excess secretion of the melanin pigment that's appeared in the conjunctiva, that is your whitish area. Okay, so bulbar area of the conjunctiva, so this will appear as a brown in color. Okay, so so for drawing purpose, you have to draw the nevus like this. Okay, so you have to draw the eye, and then you have to use a brown color in order to denote this nevus. Okay, so next we have is the flasher ring. Yes.
Can you just explain something about that nevus, ma'am? Not really.
Sorry, Dheeraj, which one do you want me to repeat?
Nevus, ma'am.
Acha, nevus, this one. Okay, see, this nevus, it's like a kind of mole. Okay, like you seen, most of you have seen the mole, na? So this is the nevus is same as a mole, but the size is more large as compared to the mole. Okay, and this nevus is actually in our eye. This the position of the nevus will be mostly in the bulbar conjunctiva. Okay, in the conjunctival area, and the reason of this nevus is because of the your hyperpigmentation of your melanin pigment. Okay, what happened, the melanin pigment that is present inside the body or the and also the eye, the increase in the number, and because of which this nevus has been developed, and this is normal only. Okay, so this will not going to affect the vision. This is just indicating the hyperpigmentation. Okay, so if you have seen this nevus, then you have to draw it with the brown color. Am I clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay.
any treatment for this?
See, nevus, we can see this nevus, if it's not disturbing, la, if it see, if this basically they are 100 almost 99% they are not progressive. Okay, so they are like a benign, they will remain in their own position. If in some case if it starts to grow and affect the vision, then we definitely go for the surgery. Okay, and in other cause like if this nevus, it's not that much. Okay, like this will, like I said, it's not going to affect your vision, right? So we can give a vitamins, nutrient supply in order to have a control over it. Okay, so that it can, we can decrease the pigmentation of the melanin. Okay, but if in case if cosmetically someone want to go for the surgery also, they can go, but for most of the for now, the treatment, it's only the supplement. We have to control the pigmentation by the supplement only. Like if we are going outside like in the like in the heavy sunlight environment, then we have to wear the glasses in order to protect it. So the precaution things along with the supplement, it's the only treatment for the nevus. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, yes. So next we have is the Fleischer's ring. Okay, so this Fleischer's ring, these are actually a pigmented ring which are at the periphery of the cornea. Okay, and this may be because of the iron deposit in the epithelial cell, right? So this Fleischer's rings also, I think you guys have studied about it. So see, this is how the Fleischer's ring will be look like. Okay, they will be a since this is an iron deposit, so this will be a slightly brownish in color. Okay, and they will mostly seen at the periphery of the cornea. So this is how we are going to do the documentation in this case. Okay. So the next we have is a pigment on the endothelium. So like I said, the endothelium, which is the like uh, innermost layer of the cornea, right? So if you have seen any kind of pigment over in the endothelium area, so okay, so I would like to add one more thing. So in order to see the segment, like which part of the in the cornea, which layer of the cornea is having that kind of abnormality, na? So you, that's why you need to be very expert with the slit lamp. Okay, so in the slit lamp we have the specific type of slit, like specular reflection or sclerotic scatter. These two are very specific. Okay, with this we have to be very expert so that we can see the your endothelial layer also with this two slit. Okay, so you need to be very expert with this, and once you have focused the position of that specific pigment, then you can write it down on your copy, or the can draw it. Okay, so see, this is a pigment. Okay, so basically this endopigment, it's occur maybe because of the like adhesion or the rubbing of the iris and the lens. Okay, so this actually causes the release of your iris pigment granule that is actually in the anterior chamber. Okay, and from the anterior chamber it goes to the endo, and then it's collected near this endothelium. Okay, so this is how it's going to be look like. So this you need to denote it with the brown color, like with a dotted line. Okay, and in the slit you can see the posterior side, right? So this is how you're going to do it. Okay, so the next we have is the posterior synechia. Okay, so can anyone tell me what is a synechia and how many type of synechia we have?
Abnormal addition of the uh, between the iris, posterior part of the iris and anterior part of the posterior part of the anterior part of the iris and posterior part of the cornea, and posterior part of the iris and anterior part of the lens, ma'am. There are two types of synechia, anterior and posterior synechia.
Okay, okay, very good. So basically, yes, like when we talk about the synechia, it's actually the adhesion between your iris and the your uh, area, depending upon whether it is anterior or posterior. Okay, so if I'm talking about the anterior synechia, that means the adhesion between your this iris and the posterior surface of the cornea. Okay, and now this is your posterior synechia, right? So posterior synechia, what happened? This is actually the adhesion between your iris and the lens. Okay, so this is in this area, na, in the central part, you can see the iris are going inside. Okay, so this is your posterior synechia. That is actually the iris this gets stick with the lens at the center. Okay, so at the center there is a lens, right? So iris gets stick over the surface of the lens. So this is how the posterior synechia will look like. And always remember one thing: in the case of posterior synechia, this pupil will not be regular. Okay, so this will be irregular pupil, and that type of pupil we call it the feston pupil. Okay, so this is your this will give you a characteristic of the feston pupil. So feston pupil. So in the drawing you have to mention the posterior synechia under the slit diagram, and then under the your frontal diagram you need to check for the pupil as well. Okay, so whether and then mention if it is feston or not. Okay, and then next we have is anterior synechia. Like I said, this is the adhesion between the your iris and the anterior surface of the cornea. Okay, so look at this area. In this area what happened, this iris, they are coming outside toward the cornea. Okay, so that's why there is an adhesion. So this is your anterior synechia, and there we have to, under the slit you can draw it this way. Okay, and next we have is the iris nodules. Okay, so basically this iris nodules, they will be seeing like this. Okay, so this is a nodule form that is seen in the iris. So you have to remember when this, okay, so in case of your uveitis, that is an inflammation of the uveal tract, that is iritis, especially in case of inflammation of the iris, what happen, you will see this type of nodules. Okay, if these nodules are present at the center, at the center of this pupil, so that will come under your copies nodules. Okay, so we call it the copy nodules. If these are at the iris, at the like at this area, we have seen some kind of nodules na, so we call it the Busaka nodules. Okay, so this is how we are going to, this is we are how we are going to draw it, and then if you know the name, then it's better to mention it. Okay, so the another color. Okay, so the next color that I'm going to discuss is the red color. So the next color is the red color. Okay, so under this red color, this is used for the documentation of your blood vessels, rose bengal staining, then hemorrhage, papillae, follicles, granuloma, then symblepharon, pterygium, congestion, telangiectasia, and the rubeosis iritis. Okay, so let's move to this slide. Okay, so first we have is a red color. Okay, so basically whenever you see any kind of congestion, any kind of redness, it's you have to denote it like it's a congestion. Okay, so for that you have to draw like this, and then you have to use the red color. Okay, and then next we have is the telangiectasia. So basically you will see like this. Okay, yes. So in this, okay, so in the eyelids at this area, you can see you have to draw it with a reddish color. Okay, so this is the, they like slit, it's not required, only this frontal with the eyelids diagrams. Okay, so you have to draw it like this, and then at the eyelids you have to draw it at the like at the boundary of the lower eyelids, like they have drawn it the red. So this that's how you're going to use for the telangiectasia also. Okay, so next we have is a hemorrhage. So if you have seen any kind of hemorrhage, so like you have to draw it by this way. Okay, so in this we have the hemorrhage over the lateral side, and there also they have drawn it with a red color. Okay, so next we have is a superficial vessel. So basically superficial vessels meaning, so the vessel that is actually at the superficial means thus superior part. Okay, so they are not deep. Okay, so if they are deeper, then it will be a worsening. Okay, that can leads to a, that will be more dangerous as compared to the superficial. Okay, so we have the superficial and the deep vessels, right? Superficial will be above the surface area. Okay, so you have to draw it like this way, and then for this you can use the slit as well. Okay, so in order to see the position of the vessel, so see this is not deep, this is just on the surface. So this is how you are going to draw for the superficial vessels. Okay, so basically you have to know the color as well as the position also. You have to denote the position as well, so for that you need the slit. Okay, so like I said, we have the deep vessel as well. So under the deep vessel, see, they have the deep vessel over this area, right? So they have drawn the vessel, so by looking at this frontal view, so we cannot denote whether it's a deep or the superficial. Okay, but with the help of the slit, like this vessels, you can see they are going inside. Okay, now look at this, this is almost at the superficial. Okay, so they are not that deep, but now that's going inside, right? And they are huge. So now this will denote the deep vessels. Okay, so okay, please remember the diagram very carefully. Okay, I might give you the diagram of this, or maybe this, either slit lamp or this. Like if I have given you the diagram of the slit lamp, then I will ask you to draw the diagram for the under the your documentation diagram. Okay, and if I have given you the documentation diagram, then you have to identify what is this sign. Okay, so like this way I can give you an exam. So next we have is a ghost vessels. Okay, so basically see, this is how the ghost vessels will look like. Okay, so this will not look see, when we talk about the blood vessels, so this will be obviously red in color, right? So but this vessels to heads will not be in the red, this will be a slightly whitish. Okay, so now can anyone tell me what is a ghost vessels and what is the cause of it? This will be there in your contact lens.
Not good this one.
Okay, okay, I'll explain it to you. Okay, so see, uh, when there is a hypoxia, if there is any kind of hypoxia, then it can leads to, what is the consequences of hypoxia? Yes, what are the causes of
Lack
hypoxia?
of blood supply, ma'am.
Okay, there will be a lack of blood supply. That means it can lead to your new vascularization. Okay, the new blood vessels will grow that will carry the oxygen and the nutrients, right? So see, in the ghost vessel, what happened? What? Okay, so if there is a case of hypoxia, that means the new vascularization will be taking place. Okay, and this new vessels, they will grow and they will carry the blood. Okay, but as compared to the old one, these new vessels, they are very fragile. Okay, so they will break easily. Okay, and then what happened, they will remain in their own position. Okay, even if they will not carry any kind of blood, but they will remain in the position, and then what happened, this will cause a scar in the cornea, and that can leads to a blurring of the vision. Okay, so this we call it the ghost vessels, that they have no blood, they will not carry any blood, but they will appear as a whitish over the surface of the cornea. So and that cause the blurring of the vision. Okay, so this is your gauze vessels. So if you have seen any kind of this uh, any kind of this features of the whitish area, so we can denote it with a red dotted line. So always remember it will be in a dotted line. Okay, so this will indicate the gauze vessel. Okay, so next we have is a papillae. So like I said, the papillae, so papillae will be denoted in the your red in color. Okay, so always remember, if you are going to draw anything in the eyelids, you have to draw it this way. Okay, so this is a grade actually. This is the position 1 2 0 1 2 3 4 5. There's a 5 position, so we have to see the position where the papillae is more. Okay, so now we have to divide it into the 5 group like this, and then we have to draw the papillae. Okay, or if there is any concretion over this center area, then you have to draw it over here, or if it's present at this area, then you have to draw it here. Okay, so in the case of this, in this case what happened, the papillae is present all over the surface of the uh, your upper eyelids, right? So this is the severe form of your papillae. This might be grade 3. Okay, so we have the different grades, mild, moderate, severe, that is 0 1 2 3 4. So based on that grading we can draw the papillae. Okay, so next we have is a hyphema. So like I said, blood in the anterior chamber, it's called hyphema, right? So this is how we are going to draw. If we have seen this kind of things now, so we call it the hyphema. Okay, so sometime what happened, this hyphema, what happened, this will be present in the opposite direction, that is at the 12 o'clock position. Okay, so that case we have to write it inverted hyphema. That means it's the opposite hyphema. Okay, inverted. So you have to use the term inverted, and then the hyphema will be same. Okay, so next we have is a ruviosis iritis. So what is the another name of ruviosis iritis? Can anyone tell me? Yes. Okay. So see, rubiosis iritis is actually the new vascularization of the iris. Okay, so this is very important, very important. So in rubiosis iritis, it can leads to a blockage. Okay, so this can be seen in the glaucoma patient as well. So see, this is your irregular pupil. So see, you can see the pupil, it's not round, right? So if it is not round, then we have to write it irregular. Okay, and then what we have to do, we have to test the reaction of the pupil. Okay, if it is reacting, then we have to we have to write it round, regular, reacting to light, that is RRRTL. Okay, that means it's a normal, round, regular, reacting to light. But in case of rubiosis iritis, what happened? You will see some kind of, see. Look at the first picture. You will see inside the in this portion, that is at the iris portion. You guys are seeing some reddish area, especially more at this portion, right? So this is actually the new vascularization that is actually taking place inside the iris. Okay, so this is your rubiosis iritis.